Hi, this is Trinisha Cottrell, and today I wanted to talk about hope deferred. So I was getting ready to go to sleep and put my hair in a high puff and, do the whole thing. Got my big t-shirt on, ready for bed, everything else. And and I came across this message and it had me thinking about how I felt earlier today and how God brought me through. And whenever you're going through a battle or you have a fight that you feel like you can't win or you're weak and you need God's strength to lead you through, you can call on Jehovah Sabah. And as I listened to this sermon, it was like a women's conference, but there were a bunch of preachers there and they were talking about the waiting season. And since I'm in the waiting season, I felt like it would be pertinent to my development process and my journey as I continue to grow and lean on God in this season. And I'll be leaning on God in every season. So this isn't just like a different thing. It's just that now in this season, more than any other season. And I say that, and you know my story about the whole like past thing and everything else. It's not that, and forgive my hair. Like I said, I was going to put it in a high puff and the makeup's gone. There's no makeup, everything else. Well, for the most part, I was starting to take it off and then I was like, And since I was looking at screens, I like to wear the blue light glasses because it helps and it doesn't end up damaging my retina. And it allows for me to keep the same vision that I have without having to have headaches and everything else. I know I discussed this in a previous video, but not everyone saw that. So as I was sitting there thinking about how God is constantly moving in my life and giving me the strength to be able to overcome these things, I came across this video at this women's conference, and this woman came on and she said that she had been going through a lot and she prayed and asked God for something and she hadn't received it. It had been a year or however long, and she was waiting. It was something that God had told her that she would be able to receive, and she still hadn't received it. And I know it says do not grow weary in well doing, but you could tell in her expression, in her demeanor, that she was starting to become weary, that she was starting to feel hopeless. And I know I'm not the only one who sometimes feels that way. We know that God's got it, but we might feel concerned. We might feel like there's no hope. And when I saw her, I felt it in my soul as she was speaking. I could feel her feel like hope was slowly draining out of her. And just like the joy earlier today when I felt like I couldn't find my joy, I knew it was there, but it felt like it was hidden. And I had to really call on God and build the strength that God was giving me to be able to find the joy and the peace that He had given me in the beginning, or He had been giving me since I've been working on myself and in my healing journey. And she goes on to tell her story about how she had asked and not received anything, and she was literally in tears on the stage. She was talking about her mom and different scenarios in her life and how every morning she gets up and she thanks God, and before her feet hit the floor, when she gets out of bed, she's thanking God. And I'm thinking I do the same thing. And before she gets down on her knees, she's thanking God. She's serving other people. She's in church every week. She's doing all the things that she thinks she's supposed to be doing, but yet she's not feeling like she's receiving the things that she wanted to receive. And she had been going to church every week, like I said, and it just, for her, she just seemed like she didn't know what else to do. She felt like her hope was gone. And she just felt like, what else is it that I could possibly do that could make things, I don't want to say hurry along, but what could I do to help me receive the benefits sooner? What is it that I could do? Am I not doing the right thing that's making me have to go through this extra thing in my life? And is there something wrong with me that's making everyone else around me go through something that I desire and I haven't gotten it yet? And that's not for me to say that I haven't been blessed, because God continuously keeps making ways out of no way for me. When I feel like I don't know how I'm going to make it or how this is going to happen, out of nowhere I meet someone and it works out. It completely works out of nowhere. I'm going to put braids in my hair, probably, because the hair does whatever it wants. I could literally, and I'll probably have to just put some water in my hair and then do some braids and wrap my braids around my head, and then sleep in it. In the morning I'll probably do like blow dry on cool air and then braid my hair or something, because I I never know what my hair is going to turn out like every single day. And I don't want to say it's stressful, but I just want to make sure that this is one thing I don't have to worry about. I can just do whatever I need to do and focus on being intentional. And well, that's why I did this time really like having my hair straight, because all I had to do every day was just wrap my hair and take it down. And I'm not saying that this is hard to maintain. It's just that when I wash it and I detangle it and I put my conditioner on and mousse or whatever or gel, it can turn out anyway. It's never the same style. So it adds a little tension because one week I'll wear it and it'll be curly and I'm like, ooh, that's cute. And then next week I'll wear it and it'll be curly and I'm like, oh my goodness. Can't complain about my hair because my curls are still popping and I did not have any heat damage. So thank you, Jesus. Like I think of it like that. And so, back to the story. So, although God has been blessing me and I have not seen healthy relationships, I've seen a healthy relationship, but it's not the norm. And it's not like I see people in healthy relationships or with a bunch of friends and I'm like, oh, wow, they have everything that I want. I don't want anybody else's situation. That's the thing. It's not that I see someone else with something and I want what they have. It's just that I want what I was talking to God about and he promised me. I don't care about I care about what other people have because I want people to be happy. But I'm focused on what it is that I'm getting, in this blessing season of God. And so when God promised you something and you don't get it right away, sometimes it feels as if you're doing something wrong. Like for me, honestly, it really felt like, is there something that I'm missing? Is there something that I'm not doing right? Is there something that I thought I was doing right, but really you need me to do something else? It's a bunch of things like that that just make me feel like, what is it that I need to do? Or what is it that I can do? And I would like to pretend like I've had the best spirit about it and I've been so just gracious and happy. But it really does feel like every day my heart's breaking a little. And as I listened to this sermon, I was like, that's exactly what it is. That is exactly what I'm feeling in this moment. And I know I'm probably not the only person that feels this way. So that's why I knew I needed to make this video. And let me just be completely transparent, no hold bars, right? No holds bars. Before I hopped on this video, when I saw that, when I had a revelation, the woman's story resonated with me and I heard the pastor preach about how you should be in this season, it spoke to my soul. And God was telling me, you need to relay the message because not everyone's going to see this. And the people who need it will be watching this. I don't know when, whatever else, but I knew that I needed to be obedient. And I'm not going to lie, because my hair was about to go in a high puff and it looks like this. I was kind of like, I I don't know if I should do this video with a spot on my shirt and a big t-shirt with my hair all over the place, because that's why it's sticking up right here, because I literally I was about to like push it all up. I had started putting it together. I was about to put it in the puff and put my scarf on and head to bed. And God was like, we got work to do. And I was like, yes, sir. Even though I was concerned about this, but I'm here. And I knew it was important, and it's not about me, it's about God. So that's why some videos you see me completely polished, because I know I'm being intentional and I'm serving, and I pray over the message and I allow God to use me so that I can resonate with someone else and be able to inspire and speak life into them in the way that they need it in that moment. Sometimes it could be right before bed, or it could be I'm getting ready to work out and I literally just threw on a tracksuit or something, and I'm like, oh, I don't, I don't even look completely polished, but God's like, you are here to serve for me. You are not here for yourself. And I'm like, you're absolutely correct. So, and I have my glasses on because I did not take them off. But this is what it is, what it is right now. So we're just gonna go with this. So, and a lot of people watching this will probably say, I wasn't even worried about your appearance. I was just listening to you speak. So that's good. So, as she talks about all the things that she's done, and she talks about how it just feels like it's not happening for her, and she sees other people who are getting the things that she asked for, that God promised her, and that God said that he was going to give her what her heart desired, but it felt like he forgot about her. And and I understand how she feels in that moment. I know a lot of us probably feel like that, and not a lot of Christians will say that, because we'll try to make it seem like we have faith all the time and we never get weak. And even though we go through battles, our God is great and he pulls us through, which is true. He does pull us through. But I think for me, being a modern day baby Christian, I want to be as transparent as possible about my journey in my faith. I don't want to make it seem like I got it all together. I don't want to make it seem like I always know that everything, I do know that everything is going to work out. But I have moments where I feel weak. I have moments where I get tempted. So far, I haven't done anything in any of those areas. And also, it is still really hard. It's not that I just completely chose the right thing and did the right thing. It was a really difficult decision. Satan makes things look satisfying. He makes that food that I know I shouldn't be eating when I'm about to be in gluttony just look like everything that I want. He makes people look like everything that I want, everything that I could possibly need. And he is so good at giving you exactly what it is that you desire, but not what it is that God desires. Because he knows that as long as there is a man willing to become weak, then the whole household is screwed. He knows that as long as you are willing to settle, there will never be a healthy household. He knows as long as you feel like you're not worthy, even though God created you worthy, you will always bend to his will instead of God's will. So, as the pastor got up and she started to speak to this young lady who was in tears, feeling hopeless, she said something like, and I'm paraphrasing because you know me, I'm not going to say it 100% on the money, but I hope that everything that I do remember can be used for God's glory to give someone the hope that they need. She said, I see you saying that you feel hopeless. And they say that hope deferred makes the heart grow sick. And when she said that, I felt that in my soul, because when you're waiting for something that God promised you, it's not always unicorns and rainbows. It's not always like it's an easy journey. Whether it's something that you want for yourself or something that God intended for you, it still feels like you're missing something. Not missing something. It feels like it's taking the hope away from you. It feels to me, while I'm waiting, it feels like my heart is constantly breaking. Like I thought that the last time my heart would be broken was after I left the last relationship. But the longer I wait, the more I feel like my heart continues to break over and over again. And I'm saying this only in my personal opinion, in what I believe. But I'm not saying that all women feel this way. But I truly believe that a woman without love might as well not be here. And I don't mean it like I want people to jump out of the way and do crazy things or act like, they gotta have love. But when we don't have love, it feels like our purpose for why we are here, giving love, being loving, being caring, having that motherly instinct. And I don't mean you have to have kids. It could be your nieces and nephews. It could be women that come behind you. It could be you speaking life into your nephew or other kids or adopted children or whatever else it is. But when you don't, I feel like for me, a life without love would not be worth living. And it's extreme to say it that way, but how many women put themselves in situations that they know they shouldn't be in, all for the sake of love? How many women put up with things that they know they shouldn't put up with, all for the sake of love? How many women wait around for years for a man to get it together, all for the sake of love? How many women are willing to bend to something that they know is beneath them, all for the sake of love? The things that a woman will do for love is probably equivalent to what a man will do for that. And I wholeheartedly believe that, because even though I do have self-love, even though I don't want to say I'm not the relationship type and speak that over my life, especially when I know God's promise. With the mindset that I have, and I'm sorry to be so gruesome with what I was saying, I just want you to understand that when I think of not having love in my life, even though I love being single, it feels hopeless. It feels, can I say hopeless without it sounding pungent? I don't know if I could use that term there. I'm trying to think of something else that would make it seem less harsh. And I can't say something's missing because God is everything. It just feels like it's the thing that could be used to weaken us when we don't have it. It's the thing that it's innate. It's innate. It's not hopeless. It's not whatever the other word was that I used. It is innate for women, I believe, to have love, to be love. And that's just me saying that. That's not like a whole thing. I haven't looked up any theories or scientists or, you know, I haven't looked up anything. I haven't heard it from anyone else, whatever else. This is just what I truly believe, because even me being cynical, I know that I desire love. I don't know where it's going to come from, what it's going to look like. I don't have a time limit on it, but that is what my heart desires, is love, even though I like being single. So I can only imagine what it feels like for women that really truly do not like being single or want to be in a relationship. And I only laugh because, it's a little awkward situation. So, oh my gosh, I'm breaking out. What in the world? I don't know what I rubbed up against. Okay, that's besides the point. But let me get back into the story because I feel like I went so off course. And I really truly want you to know that I don't mean that women are weak because they love. I mean that women desire love because that's what they were created, what we were created for. And just my opinion, no one else's. So you could agree, disagree, whatever else. It's fine. I'm just telling how I feel, not how the world should be, not how the world is, not how women are, not women in a whole, or anything like that. I'm just saying that the things that we see women do is all for the sake of love. And it's a lot of things that we put up with that we know better. We know we deserve better. We know we shouldn't be settling for that. We know we shouldn't be in that situation. We know we should not be waiting that long. We know we know all of these things, but yet just for the hope of a love, we're willing to sacrifice our honor, our dignity, our mind, our body, our soul, all of these things that are so precious to us that mean and hold way more weight than that. But God is love. It would only make sense for us to desire something that God has, that God is. And it's not that He's given it to us, it's that is Him. He is love. And because we are a part of Him, because we were created to be loving and caring and creatures, humans, that's something, I think that's why it's in our heart, why it's so deep in our soul, why we really lead in most situations towards wherever love is taking us, even if it doesn't mean us any good. And that's not good. We really need to use discernment with God and wait on God. And so let me finish this because I got so off topic because of my own opinion. And like I said, I don't want to use it to persuade other people to make people think a certain thing or anything like that. It's one of those things that I realized as I'm working on myself. And even though I even though I like being single, I still desire love, which is so weird. And so, as the pastor continues to preach, she says that like I said, the hope deferred makes the heart grow sick, which it really does. Because I literally felt like my heart was constantly breaking over and over again. I felt like it was making me sick to my stomach to think about not being able to have this thing that God promised me, even though I knew it was coming. I just didn't know when it was going to come. And she said something like, in her example, picture a server going around the restaurant and smiling with a great attitude. And no matter how anyone else acts, no matter what else happens, she continues to smile because she's serving the customer and the customer is always right. That is exactly how we should be in our waiting season with God because He is everything. And although our heart feels like it's breaking, although it makes us feel sick to our stomach because we haven't received it, it doesn't do us any good to serve without a smile. God likes a gracious giver. So if He is going to bless us, sometimes in our waiting season, He's using it to build us up and break off things, to squeeze things out of us that He needs for that next level. If this is just an example, and I'm not wishing this on anyone, but if I'm in this waiting season because of what God is saying that I will need for my purpose, and I'm not being gracious. I have a pouty face because I haven't got what God promised me yet. I have all of this negative energy or these negative comments that I'm saying because it just seems like every person is the wrong person. And I feel like I know I can't have a hand in it. This has to be all God. I don't know what it is about not being able to control anything at all, like the timing, whatever else. It's just like It drives me crazy a little bit because I want to be the person who can determine what is about to happen, but that's God's job. That's what God does. You have to be able to have hope and faith for things that are unseen and know that God is who he says he is. And it's funny because she said serving God. And yesterday, when I was it yesterday? Yesterday, I was feeling a certain type of way, like towards the end of the day and in the morning. And it wasn't all day, it was just like I had a spurt of sadness come over me a little. And while I was doing that, I did something to help someone else out. Oh, I know what it was. I went to drop off my book for another book signing, and the lady that was there was homeless. And I'm not saying this for accolades or anything like that. I'm just saying because I feel like we forget that serving other people can help us as well. And I'm not saying that you just give to people just to give to people. I'm saying that if God puts it on your heart, it's so weird because while I was in my mood, I saw her, the same lady who's been out there before, about 2 or 3 weeks ago that I helped out when in the one video, she was there this day. And when I pulled up, I saw her and I was like, oh my gosh, that's such and such. And I thought about the things that I was being ungrateful for, the things that in the moment I was feeling like I'm in this waiting season and I don't know why I have to wait right now. And I know that sounds so selfish and so arrogant, egotistical, and definitely not humble or like a child of God. But being transparent, that's exactly how I felt. And I was being unappreciative of just having to wait when this lady literally had a smile on her face because she was just talking to a friend. They were sitting together. They were both, you know, homeless or whatever else, and she had a family member who lives in the area who helps her out every once in a while, but not all the time. And she was so when I helped her, she was so gracious and appreciative. It's something like that that really makes you realize how selfish you are being. And I'm complaining about having to wait for something that God already promised me that I'm going to get when this lady literally has lost everything. And just the idea of being able to serve this lady, to help her, to talk to her, to really like look her in her eyes was what lifted my spirit yesterday. And God was telling me, you need to serve. While you're waiting, you need to be serving. And I listened to this message today after, I went through my kind of down phase early in the morning after I had thanked God and I did my morning routine and I was listening to my motivational stuff and all of those negative attacks came at me, just mental warfare after mental warfare, negative remark after negative remark just kept replaying in my head. And God was telling me how I can get out of this, how I called on him and he showed me how and told me how I could build myself back up and I could be encouraged and I could feel the joy that was hidden at that moment. And it's like God will tell you the answers that you need to help you succeed in life. And I don't know if you're like me, but I'll know things that I have to do. But somewhere along the line, when I'm in the storm, sometimes I forget exactly what I needed to be able to make it through that stage or whatever else. And when the pastor was preaching, helping this young lady who was in tears, She said, you have to be a gracious server, especially for God, especially when you're waiting. It reminded me of what God said to me yesterday. And how quickly do we forget that God is who he says he is? That we need to be a gracious giver. And in our time of waiting, we really do have to serve. And one thing that this lady said after she said the hope deferred thing, and she talked about being a gracious server. Well, before she talked about being a gracious server, she said the lady had said that it felt like everyone else around her was getting the blessing that God promised her, or the gift that God promised her. And the pastor said, don't you know that God saves the best for last? Whew, I'm going to try not to cry on here. And hearing that, hearing that immediately made me cry. But you guys know I cry all the time because I'm just one of those people, whether it's hormones or something else. Ugh. Ugh. I know it's a mess, but it is what it is. So when she said that, it was like the confirmation that I needed. I needed to know that, to rest in the promises of God and know that he is who he says he is. Know that he can do all things. He is all powerful. He's Alpha and Omega. He is the beginning of the in the end. He knows everything about us. There is nothing that God could promise us that he would ever not give us, because he is a God that he does not lie. He is not going to promise you something and not give it to you. It might not happen when you want it to, but it will happen exactly when God intended it to, at the exact appointed time, at the exact appointed hour and minute, and not a second or minute before that. God cannot give you something if you are not being gracious, if you are not being joyful, if you are not leading in the way that he intended you to lead while you are representing him. He can't give you something while you're being ungrateful, while you're acting like a spoiled brat, while you're being unappreciative of the things that you already have. He can't add anything else to that, because if he gives you something prematurely, it'll destroy you. He needs to know that you are really about that life, that you have put on your armor every day, that you really riding with him. And you cannot for a second allow Satan to make you think that God is a liar, that God is not going to come through. You know how many times God has come through for me, and I definitely didn't deserve it. I didn't see it coming. He just showed up right in the nick of time, right at the right time. It wasn't that it was when I wanted him to come. I wanted him to come at the beginning and not have the war in the first place. But God was like, no, in this war, you're going to learn this and this and this about you. You're going to learn these are the things that you will and will not tolerate. You're going to learn that sometimes people do need you to be patient and compassionate with them. You cannot be so hard on everyone and just treat people as if they are your ex. You can't make anyone else suffer for the things that you've been through. You need to be compassionate and understanding. And although you want to have standards and stick to them, that does not mean that you treat someone without love and kindness, no matter who it is. They may try you. Ooh, they may try you. But that is not who God intended for me to be. He did not intend for me to be a nasty human being who treats people badly. He did not intend for me to receive his son in, companionship or whatever else, for me to treat him the way that I should have treated the ex. And I don't mean it in that way, because you should treat everyone well and you need to leave when you need to leave so that you can keep your composure, so that you can be the person who leads with love and kindness and not with resentment or in a horrible attitude kind of way. And it's so funny because I hate to say this cliche, and I know this is not in the Bible, but it is, but it isn't. It's the gist of it, but this saying is not in the Bible. But it really fits in here. He may not come when you want him, but he's always right on time. It's so true. I'm sorry I had to say it. I just felt it in my spirit. I know it's not in the Bible, but seriously, you can call on him when you feel like you're ready, when you feel like you want it, when you feel like, okay, like me, I've been, healing forever. I've been doing this, this, and this. But if I'm being honest, if God had given me the person, God told me to wait 3 to 4 months before doing anything, because the person that he showed me was his child too. And during that time, I learned a lot about myself. I had things happening in my life that I didn't even realize were going to be still an issue. If if God hadn't stepped in and intervened on my behalf, and he had allowed me to have what it was that I wanted, I don't know how I would have treated that person, because I still felt like I needed to protect myself, and in order to do that, I needed to be so hard towards other people that I wouldn't have even been able to allow that person into my life, if that makes any sense. I just I had this steel wall around me. I wasn't just guarding my heart. I was I was literally adding a wall around the guards. So not only could no one get in, but I couldn't get out of the things that had strongholds on me. I couldn't get rid of the defense mechanisms that I had of pushing people away. Those were things that I did in the beginning that I really wish I would have listened to God and waited on, because I never wanted to push someone like that away. I never wanted to be so hard towards certain people. But because I felt like it was the only way to protect myself in the beginning, I didn't know that I was blocking people from being able to get to me. So sometimes we might feel like we know better than God, but God really knows better than anything that we could ever think of. Like, we could have a machine that thinks of 24 different scenarios, or however an infinite amount of scenarios or possibilities, and it will never equal up to what God intended for our life or his plan for our life, because he is so unique to each individual. Even if me, let's say I had a twin and we had the same life, and we went through all of these similar things, God might say, I'm not ready emotionally. The twin might be ready emotionally. God might say, she's ready, but I can't just give her this right now. She needs to wait another month or two. In the algorithm, it could have came up that she was only going to wait 2 weeks and then find a person. But God said that wasn't the time yet, because she needed to be at an appointed place that God intended for her to meet that person. She needed to be in an appointed place to get that position or whatever else it was for her life that God had for her. And in conclusion, because I did not know this was going to last that long. I thought I was just going to say a couple things because I felt it in my spirit and let it go. And sorry for adding my own thing, my thought in there. I really felt like it was important, because without love, it feels like everything ceased to exist. I know that probably doesn't make any sense to some people, but people that really know love, God's love, or having love from someone else will understand. So like I said, in conclusion, while you're waiting in the waiting season, be a joyful, gracious server of God. He's already blessed you with so many things. He's already gotten you out of so many things. If God is saying not right now, it's a good reason why. And I know that. But instead of me focusing on it being a good reason why, because I know God is looking out for me. I know that He's intending to do what benefits me and my life and the other person's life. He can't introduce someone to me and I'm saying, "Oh, I'm going to be single for 10 years." The person would feel like I'm rejecting them when really they wanted to be with me. He can't he can't introduce someone in my life when I'm saying that I don't want to be vulnerable. He can't introduce someone in my life when I'm saying that I push everyone away. Until I get to a point where I allow someone in, He's not going to give me one of His children so that I can crush and break their heart. While I'm saying that I don't want to be in a relationship, God can't give me someone and then the person's intent is to be in a relationship with me and I hurt them unintentionally because I'm trying to protect myself. I need to be in a place where God knows that I'm ready, or He knows that I won't hurt the other person because I will be able to be the type of wife, the type of girlfriend, the type of friend that that person will need in this moment of their life. I'll be the type of person who can be herself without worrying about how it's going to appear to someone else. And we might never understand why God's doing things, but always know that He has the best of intentions for our life and the best plans for our life. Nothing is going to work out as amazing and seamlessly as it will with God. When God introduces someone in your life or a job or whatever else it is that you need, it flows. It's not something that you'd have to go out of your way to make happen. It's something that will happen the way it's intended to happen. You might have to put yourself in the sight. You might have to do some things like that, but you'll never have to feel empty with the promises of God. And a good way to push through the waiting season for a job or whatever it is that God promised you for your life is to serve graciously and with joy. The more I serve, the more full I feel, the better my heart feels. My heart could feel like it's breaking, but as soon as I serve someone, it feels like it's filling up. It feels like it gives me the exact dose that I need to be able to continue on, to keep pushing forward, to keep knowing that God is who He says He is. And I feel like that's really good advice to give any person. While you're waiting, serve. At a soup kitchen, someone randomly, a family member that you know is struggling that needs help around the house or help here and there, at church, other churches, volunteer at places, set up events to help the community. Whatever it is that you need to do, serve. Because I promise you it'll make you feel so much better than just waiting on something that you already know you're going to get when the time is right.